Minister's press briefing here at the Ministry of Information. I know Ghanaians are always interested in matters relating to power. We always want to keep the lights on. And this morning we are happy to have the CEO of the Ghana Grid Company, GRIDCo, and his entourage here to give us an update on their programs and projects and an overview as to how transmission of electricity is done from the power producers or generators to the distribution company, ECG, and other roles that they play when it comes to the power sector in Ghana. Before I introduce the Chief Executive for his initial remarks, permit me to acknowledge some dignitaries who have joined us this morning. With us, we have the Director in charge of Engineering, Engineer Vincent Boachi. Okay. We also have the Acting Director, HR, Mrs. Emily Otu Asari. We have the Director, Technical Services, Engineer Daniel Amati. We also have the Acting Director, Office of the CEO, Mr. Samuel Akwa. We also have the Acting Director of Procurement, Mr. Henry Sam Wood. And as I mentioned earlier, we have the CEO of GRIDCo, Engineer Ebenezer Kofi Essienyi, with us this morning. So I will now invite the CEO to give us his opening remarks.
Good afternoon, Honorable Deputy Minister Fatima Abubakar, colleague management staff. I'm here to give a brief overview of what we do and where we are with our programs vis-a-vis where we want to get to as part of our role as the system operator and also the network asset owner. So that's why I'm here. If we can go straight to the point, the presentation. But we just go ahead to show what we do, the role we play, and our core functions. So that's supposed to take place today, 12. The outline will be on the snapshot of the grid. We'll look at the demand outlook. We talk about our operational challenges, the transmission constraints or bottlenecks, and the pipeline project in line. I wouldn't spend too much time on our history, but GRIDCo that we know used to be part of the VRE vertical structure. And we used to be the transmission department. Fast forward with the IPPs coming on board, and as part of the power sector reforms, GRIDCo was carved out to enable private IPPs to come in. GRIDCo was established in 2008. We go to the role of GRIDCo in the electricity sector. Here you have gas supply or the fuel. You have the GENCOs or the generating companies. For the gas supply, you find Ghana Gas, GNPC, ANI, TALO. Some are upstream, some are downstream. We have VRE, BUI, and IPPs. IPPs make mention of Car Power, Send Power, Asogli, Amandi or Twin City, and all the others. Then we find our role as the transmission. And our key roles are the system operator, emphasis on the system operator. The system operator is the one who supervises or manages the supply against the demand. I'll come back to this aspect in a jiffy. Then you have the DISCOs or the distribution companies. Here you have the mines, the bulk customers, you have ECG, GRIDCo, all being part of the distribution system. Consumers will sit behind the distribution. So if I were projecting further, you see that SAME will be connected to ECG as a downstream. And therefore, in the energy value chain, all these processes must be up and running smoothly for you to have the electricity in your homes. All these chain, gas, generation, transmission, ECG or GRIDCo, all of us must be functional for you to see your light on in your home. Coming to our services, we have the transmission. We do some aspect of telecoms because we have fibers on our towers. Primarily, we use it for our teleprotection and communication among ourselves. So we have our internal. I can sit in my office and call Bolga, or Tumu, or Wa, or Kumasi, or Akusumu through our own system. It's called a power line carrier. That is what we use. Then also we've seen opportunity across our borders and even in Ghana, where we provide consultancy services based on our knowledge, our tools, and the expertise that we have, all in an effort to bring in additional revenue for our business. Looking broadly at a snapshot of the grid, you find 14 generating companies. We have about 5,246 megawatts, that's installed capacity. We have about 5,500 transmission line made up of 69 kV, 161, 225, and 330. We have 31 bulk customers. So far, our demand, which happened on March 8, 2022, is 3,469 megawatts. We anticipate that by end of year, we should be around just shy of 3,600 megawatts. We look at our demand growth, and the good thing is that the demand in power has a direct correlation to our economic growth. When you plot them, they will be parallel by and large among the two. And therefore, anytime you have a stagnation in power demand, you can see it from the graph. That's around 2013, 2014, and also 2018 and 2019. These are periods that we had challenges with our demand growth, and definitely also will translate into some slow activity within the economy. Our demand for 2021, maximum demand was 3,246. As I indicated earlier, by March 8, we were 3,469. So it means that we've already exceeded the 2021 demand. Another interesting thing that I need to bring to attention is that for the first time, on a Saturday, we recorded a demand in excess of 3,300 megawatts. It's an indication of the potential for our demand to grow. And therefore, that is something that we need to keep our eye on. Operational challenges, overgrowth under our transmission line because of where the lines pass. We have lines that leave western region, must go towards Ashanti region and continue to the north. From western towards Ashanti, it's a whole thick forest, but the lines must find a way to go. So the undergrowth are there that we need to clear. When we say clear, it is we weeding and make sure that when the lines sag, They don't touch the trees that create disturbances for us. Another major concern to us, and here, our friends for the media, you need to help us to address this. Those who encroach on our right of way and stay under the lines, either to do business or their household, it's a real challenge. It is extremely dangerous. And we need to bring ourselves to mind of the dangers while we stay there, and also the risk associated with a tower collapsing or the conductor falling, and also even impeding us if we need to go do work under. So that's something that we want the media to help us. Then Galamsey. Galamsey know no bounds. They go all the way chasing the resources that they want, forgetting the point that the towers that are there are for our collective good. Because we've had situations where Galamsey, because we need to relocate our towers just to ensure the reliability of our supply to our consumers. All these things come at a cost, and they impair our reliability of supply. This is a typical Galamsey where virtually the tower footings or foundations has been completely exposed. We needed to find a way to quickly address this. All these are additional costs to our business, and even if we had not seen it early enough, the dangers we would have encountered. Look at where our transmission lines passed. These are thick forest, and at times our men need to walk for days carrying items to go and do the works. But they are committed to it, and they know the role we play in Ghana's socio-economic development, and therefore we do it honorably. This picture shows more challenges where you find the smoking transformer there. That's as a result of overload, and therefore we need to almost always maintain our transformer loadings up to a point to minimize such activities. The right towers that collapsed that we needed to reinstate. The down one was the famous failure of a communication mast on our tower that impacted negatively on the grid to the extent that Kumasi really struggled, and we needed to go plead with Otumfuo to bear with us because we really had a challenge within the grid. Solutions. Based on the enormous challenges we are having with our right of way, we've set up the right of way task force under the Director of Technical Services, where we will equip a team, 3 teams, to monitor our right of ways. One team will be in the Ashanti region, Kumasi area, that will address Kumasi, Obuasi, and the northern side. We have one team that will also be around Takrade, that's the western region, so Takwa, New Takwa, Cape Coast, Winneba. Then the other one will be in Tema. That will take care of Greater Accra, Tema, and the Volta region substations all the way to KJB, including Tafu. To decongest the lines for project, it comes at a cost. Under normal circumstances, these are things that we could avoid, towing trucks under our lines because we need to work. These are costs that we could avoid. And we impress upon you to let the good people of Ghana know that these are constraints that we can do without. Then also we are bringing in the technology of drones to make sure real time we can inspect and see what is wrong with our lines in terms of the fittings, if they are corroded or glass insulators are off and we need to replace them. These are development that we need to have. They all come at an additional cost, but we need to do. Our major constraint within the grid, broadly, we've labeled them this way. We have the Western Corridor. So Western Corridor, you are looking at Takrade all the way towards Dunkwa area. That's what we refer to as the West. You can see from the map the light blue circles. The coastal, that's the one in yellow, that is from Aboade, Cape Coast, Winneba, now Kaswa, all the way to Malam. Then you have the middle. The middle is from Akusumbu, Tafu, Nkoko, Konongo to Kumasi. That's the middle. All these lines have virtually lived their usefulness. They are contributing significantly to our losses because they are old but carry a lot of power still, and therefore we need to replace them or reconstruct them. Another issue that we need to address has to do with radial lines. Radial lines. The challenge we have is that normally consumers must be supplied from minimum 2 sources so that if one goes off, the other will be available to maintain the supply. We have lines that are radial in nature, and therefore when they go off, or we need to work on them, consumers must be off for the period or the duration at which we are working. In modern day Ghana, with a digitization agenda, it is something that should be a thing of the past because our lives hinge on we having the energy to do all that we require. Mention a few. Tamale Yendi, it's a radial line. Asiekpe all the way to KJB. So Asiekpe who Peve Pandu to KJB. It's a radial line. If anything happens between Asiekpe and let's say who, the rest of the northern that goes all the way to KJB is off. These are things that we need to address going forward. I am free to Obotan. It's also a radial line. Obotan is a mining substation. And therefore, when light goes off, it disrupts their operations, and we need to ensure that it's a thing of the past. Asiekpe also goes to Sogakope. It's also a radial line we need to address. Sunyani to Brekum, a challenge. Nkoko to New Ebrim. Newman has a mine at New Ebrim, and therefore, when we have challenge with the supply, it disrupts we are looking at closing it up from New Ebrim to Akwitia, so that there's alternate path for supply for New Ebrim, and also for it to be used to service New Obuasi from Akwitia. Takrado is Siama. It's a radial line that virtually also disrupt. The Nsema area has become like a kind of, should I say, tourist attraction. They have interesting things there. So normally, when the supply goes off, it impacts negatively on their activities, and we need to address that. Mention a few projects that have been completed. First one is the Pokwase BSP. That was commissioned by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. It's the biggest in the grade, and its sole purpose is to back up 2 substations, Malam and Achimota. By and large, we are going to engage our brothers in ECG to see how we take full advantage of that capacity that exists at Pokwase. It was a grant, almost $47 million, and we are grateful to the Millennium Challenge Corporation and the U.S. government. The next one is the Kaswa Bulk Supply Point that was recently commissioned by the Vice President. That one has just shy of $50 million, also grant. And the Kaswa BSP is the most sophisticated within the grade because it has every major component of a power sector. Underground cable, overhead lines, it has the HVC, it has GIS, gas insulated substation, it has some component being AIS, it has transformers, and therefore It is the most sophisticated within the grid, and we are happy equally to the U.S. government, MCC, and the implementers on behalf of Government of Ghana, MEDA. We are looking at reconstructing a major transmission line starting from Tamatos, Accra. If you recall, in our recent past, any time clouds form or it's raining, we know definitely that our lines were going to go off. Well, these were old lines built in the 1960s. They have sagged so much that with any wind, they swing and it goes off. I get excited when it's raining and friends will call me to say, oh, it's raining this time, but our lights are still on. It's a good thing showing that the works that we are doing is bringing the desired benefit. It doesn't mean that we are out of the woods here. No. But we have many of these lines that we equally need to construct. We construct these lines with the hope that we improve on the voltage, increase the transmission capacity going forward. Transmission lines, when constructed, last for a while. The ones that we are reconstructing were done in the 60s. We are in the 20s. And therefore, it's paid its dues for the past plus minus almost 60 plus years. Here, I wouldn't say too much. It's a completed Pokwase BSP commissioned by His Excellency. Kaswa also commissioned BSP by His Excellency, the Vice President. Ongoing reconstruction of our transmission lines. We need to reconstruct them to increase the transmission capacity, reduce transmission losses. PURC is pretty stringent with us with all that we need to do to reduce our transmission losses. And therefore, we needed to go ahead with this development and reconstruction that we require. With the reconstruction, it also improves voltages. One journalist with engagement told me that, but after we picked the 330 kV, Ahomaso to Kintampo line, we said voltages were going to improve. I explained to him that yes, it did improve. But we all know when we are at home and what we refer to as low current, when non-technical people say no current, we understand it to be low voltage, and therefore your compressor may be off, some will switch your even fans, or the fans will be running, then all of a sudden it will just go off. But with improvement of that nature, it goes to virtually improve the voltage, and consumers see and bring on their unit again. A typical example, Konongo used to be the most notorious within the grid. We just put in a bigger transformer because the transformer was overloaded. And a hotel that our staff who were working there go to stay gives the indication that for the first time they see the ACs working well because the low voltage has been eliminated and therefore they can pick. Then also with increased capacity of lines, we reduce their outages. Major upcoming projects. The Ghana-Germany Compact was at the instance of the President of the Republic with the German government. This project has three key components. I made mention of the SVC that was at Kaswa. Identical one is supposed to be installed at Ahojo, that is in Kumasi. Then also, we needed to break into the long 330 kV line at Dunkwa so that we link the 330 to the 161, all in an effort to improve supply reliability to our consumers. The next one is improvement of the southwestern infrastructure. Here we refer to it as the Western Corridor Transmission line upgrade project. It takes from Abuadi all the way Takwa New, Takwa, Bogoso, Dunkwa. And that is the purpose. These two projects are in the budget for this year. And inshallah, we hope to go through the PFM activities and commence this year. The process is ongoing. We also have the construction of a backup control center. Our national control center is at Tema, and that's where we see everything real time as to whether we need some generators to come up or we need some ECG to drop some load or we ourselves might drop some load. We see it real time, real. Anyone who has visited a place before can tell that it's pretty a stressful environment and real time values are changing. Every second they change. We need to have a backup as part of our business continuity plans so that in case something happens to our National Control Center, we'll have the backup to take over and manage the grid. Key projects that are coming up. We picked these three, which are also part of our project that we submitted to PRLC, because we needed to bring this up as part of energy supply plan. We've made the economic management team on it, and we've made a passionate appeal for them to get GRIDCo some resources to be able to complete this. First one is the coastal. If you reference it to the constraint that we have, is the coastal transmission line. The second one is supposed to be a line between Pokuase and Malam. The reason is that you normally would prefer that much of your load should go on the 330 kV, and therefore we'll step it down at a shorter distance from Pokuase to Malam, plus minus about 20 kilometers. Just all in an effort to improve the reliability of consumers in Greater Accra and the immediate environs. The middle corridor, that's a long line, about 225 kilometers between Akusumu and Kumasi. I need to bring this to the attention. Reconstructing existing lines take time. So let's assume Deputy Minister says that my father gave me $1 billion. I love GRIDCo, I love Ghana. I want to give the money out for it to be used for reconstruction. We can't take all the lines out at the same time and see, because we have the money, we are going to reconstruct. We need time. It needs to be planned so that the impact of the reconstruction will also not affect consumers that much. It is key we bear that in mind. Then also, if it's an existing line, because our lines virtually run parallel, you need to go off to allow the reconstruction to go on because of the risk associated in working with such environment. I need to say this. At times, people easily say, oh, we have Dumso. Meanwhile, across the street, his opponent has light, but his light has gone off. Even at times, it's 3 phase, 1 phase is off. Some people say it's still Dumso. The issue is that with the grade, when we go off big. So normal, when friends call me, I'll ask, do you have light anywhere close by? When you say, yes, I know it's a local action. When you say no, then I'm calling the control center to find out whether the grade is okay or not. We should remember, without the grade, definitely there will be no light. Thank you, Mr. Minister.
Thank you for the insightful presentation, Engineer Essienyi. I believe his presentation captured a lot of things, including questions that a lot of us would have loved to ask, but still we will give the opportunity to journalists present for them to be able to ask their questions. But there was one passionate appeal he made, which I wish to translate in Chi so that we can reach a larger audience across the country. Mr. Mo, Engineer Kasano, or say wuhu se enade anase nua tenten esi baabi ne ede nhoma aguso na nyinam kanea namu a yesrew menko hwedwa wase menko tena ase se okwakoye adwuma bi wo ho se wo nwura mu a mesrew enka se wahu fam agudi anase sika kokko enti wo kotutu ase ama nade na anase nua no abubu agufom se wo yesa eka bebre kwa na wo bo oman no enya kanonko a enhoma a ewo so etumi tigu na se enhoma no nso so tigu a eno nso so betima hwe wo nkwa ana nipa bi betima hwe wo nkwa ana se nade na wa tutu ase ama na hihim no se ebu a edioyo ne beba enti engineer kasa no o se challenges o mo wo no ebi ne se o mo ye galamse na oduru nwura mu baabi na se o mo transmission lines ni bi wo ho no ma e ho no okɔwerɛwerɛ ase afa ne opa hu yesrɛ mo saa ne ma ni nyina munjai na mujai ebeboa ama abre bi epese nkane ani gina so bia ebe gina so nti wo your mama pa onso so wasede no. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now take your questions and then go to the CEO for his responses. Please, if you have a question, kindly raise your hand, mention your name and your media house, and then proceed to ask your question. So we'll take 2 sets of questions. So let's start with the first. Any questions? Any questions? Okay. So if we have no questions, I will invite engineer back. Okay, Nana, please.
Yes, engineer, with respect to people who are doing business under transmission lines, I don't know whether you have some punitive measures against them, because you can talk. You tell them, and today Ghana, it is difficult to restrain people from doing their own thing without recourse to the law, because when you ask a person, oh, madam, you know, these things, you don't say, at the Ghana, papa there, Ghana, mama there, they will insult you. I don't know whether you cannot use the assembly and other agents to prevent people from doing this, because you can talk, like I said, as a human being, but nobody will listen to you. So what action can you do, as it were, to prevent some of these things from occurring? Because merely talking and bringing it to the fore will not solve the problem. Thank you.
Okay, please. I saw someone's hand at the back. Yeah. Okay.
No, Pastor, good morning.
Good
afternoon, sorry.
Good afternoon.
FM.
Okay.
Pastor, my question is, Senana Doc, Obewi now Chechem say, we are lights, no, Habun say, this part all lights out, the other parts all lights off. And Bibusa say, education, bem, Naya mo ye. Sinabema, ye ordinary Ghanaians, never understand, say, Senaka say, any doom sono. Because lights no, maybe I make some Medina. Because we feel last week I'll be seen, every blessed day, this situation happen. One side bits mark off. A bedroom you may not that side is off, and a pay no. Baby, I may part one, none will light out. The other side now, they will light off. A dear name to share the oha on Bema Timem for who exactly the problem no. And I say, Omema who the echo so, send a bien say, you do so send an ad doctor.
Okay, thank you for the question. So we'll take the third question.
My name is Nancy Vokania from TV3. I would want engineer to give us more information about this right of way task force.
Okay.
Right of way task force. What exactly they'll be doing, and if you've recruited them already, if they're already part of your team. I mean, just give us more information about that. And also with the 3 critical projects that you mentioned, and you talked about time, how much time it would take. Is it part of your project plan to have some sort of temporary transmission lines in place before you take on the real job, so you can have those as a backup by the time you're done repairing those, is it radial lines, if I got that right. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. We can take one more if anyone has a question. If not, we will go to engineer for his responses and also his final remarks.
Thank you very much. I'll skip the right-of-way issues and the task force to the director in charge, who is here. I want you to hear from him based on all that we've done and the challenges that we face. The selective light-off, I think we need to engage our colleagues, ECG, so that the customer service information is up to the required level. Because for us, we expect that if there's a challenge within the grid, we communicate. We see whatever it is, whether it's GRIDCo's transmission that is off, or a compressor has tripped, or a plant is overheating and therefore calling to shut down. We communicate that to ECG. So, distribution, when they have a challenge, it should be possible for them to let consumers know. I believe I'll bring it to the attention of the new ECG MD so that we increase the information flow or the education of Ghanaians to know when these things occur. The critical project and the temporary, I wish the industry in which we are, we could opt to do those temporary things. Unfortunately, no. So, for instance, the reconstruction, we are using the existing center corridor. That is the best we can. Or else it becomes extremely expensive. Because first, when the lines were constructed in the 60s, it used to be a bush. So you find that the lines are straight, they span longer spans. To decide to bypass and do a temporary will cost you even more than what you require to do the reconstruction of existing line. The challenge with the radial lines is that it is important we take note. For instance, Yendi, to close the loop from Yendi, for it to have an alternative, you either go to Boko. So imagine the distance of line that we need to build, or you come towards KJB. But even with KJB, because 69 kV voltage is the one at KJB, we need to go reconstruct from Asiepe. You are talking plus minus almost about 500 to 700 kilometer distance per kilometer cost of our lines as we speak today. It's in excess of $600,000. That's 1 kilometer. So when you multiply by the numbers, you get to know that these are big bucks that we are talking about. So it should be planned. It should be strategic. We are pleading with some of our development partners who have the means to support that, like Millennium Challenge Corporation did, giving us almost about $100 million for a project of Pokuase and Kasua was good enough. That is all I will say. Engineer Danamati, come and speak to the right-of-way issues and the right-of-way task force.
Good afternoon. Yes, rightly so, we should be concerned about people who settle under the right-of-way. The right-of-way is supposed to be a distance of about 15 meters on either side of the transmission line, if we take the 161. If it is 330 kV, it's supposed to be 20 meters on either side. The protection of the right-of-way is backed by law. It's backed by law. Therefore, anybody who decides to settle under any portion within the right-of-way does so illegally. So if you are caught by law, you are supposed to be punished. Living under the right of way is not allowed. You are not supposed to live there. You are not supposed to conduct any business activity within the right of way. We've worked with MMDAs. When we had some challenges, we worked with Adenta, and we were able to move people under the right of way, right from Adringano all the way to Fiesta Royal Hotel. But what we see is that if we don't follow up, and we cannot leave our work to be doing this all the time. So when we move the people, they come back. Maybe after 2 or 3 weeks, they come back. That is why we have decided that this time around, we are having a task force. And their duty will be to police the right of way at all times. 24/7, the right of way is going to be policed. We are going through the processes to ensure that we have the men and the facilities and all the other things that we need to be able to do that. We work with the MMDAs. We did this with Adenta, and we've also done it with Ayawaso. So we all see the need to protect the right of way. If any conductor should fall, lives are going to be lost, and we're not going to sit unconcerned. So very soon, the 3 groups of task forces that my boss mentioned will be commissioned to take up the policing of the right of way properly. Thank you very much.
Okay, I wouldn't say too much, but from where Engineer Amati left off, we are pleading with you, our friends in the media, to help us educate Ghanaians. At times, they may not appreciate the risk associated with doing business or staying under the line. We acknowledge we all must live. We are all sovereign Ghanaians. But whatever business we are doing should not be at the peril of our own lives. Lives are key. Now, Fanti will say, in Chenoso, you know. So I wouldn't talk too much, but we are grateful to you. I came with my colleagues here. Anytime there's anything that bothers you, you can get in touch. And I will invite you to visit us in Tema. Let's send you to the System Control Center where you see things real time, real. You will see. You will be there and we will see that something has happened within the grid. We'll explain to you what is happening. Or you see something moving from green to yellow to red, telling us that we need to keep our eye on it, all in an effort for us. Yes, sir. I'll take from Nana.
Yeah, my last question. There's a general belief or perception that the power sector is engulfed with indebtedness. I don't know your cash flow, whether you have enough resources to do your work, because you are going to embark on a very major project work. What is it like? Are you owed? Do you owe? And what is happening at the front financially?
Unfortunately, in the power sector, we have challenges across. I don't have the figures offhand here. The good thing is that GRIDCo is for the good people of Ghana. We are all shareholders in the business of GRIDCo, and therefore, wherever we must pass or make the case to the shareholder, for GRIDCo, 100% is owned by Ghanaians, held in trust by the government of Ghana. So we have challenges within the power sector. Systems have come in to address. Energy sector recovery program is doing well. Cash waterfall mechanism is also doing well. At least, based on whatever revenues we get, is shared equally amongst all of us. Things have improved a little, although we are not out of the woods. I believe for more details, my director of finance is not here. We will be able to speak into the nitty-gritties. But Nana, anytime, you are free to pass through and we can share this. That is all I will say, and thanks very much for coming to listen to us. We are grateful. Thank you.
On that note, we draw the curtain on today's press briefing. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us once again. Good afternoon.